I was about 6 years old, and Daniela, my wife, she was about 3 years old. Whoever read, how many of you read my book? Oh, quite a lot. You know the story. Well, pretend you don't, okay? And I put my eyes on her and never took them off her. I put my eyes on her. She was coming to church with her sister, 1 year younger than her. She was brunette, her sister was blonde. She was always serious, her sister always smiling. If you talk to her sister, she'd be very polite. If you talk to Daniela or Dana, my wife, she'd be like, leave me alone. Well, that was a challenge for me. And I said to my sister, she walks so fine, and she speaks so fine, and her voice is so sweet and gentle, and her eyes, and my sister shakes her head and says, you are 6, and she is 3. And I said, I think I love her. And my sister said, do you even know what love is? I said, I think I do. And I made the decision, I'm going to marry her. And my sister shook her head and said, you are going to change your mind 1,000 times. I said, well, you don't know me. Well, time passed by. I was in 7th grade singing in the choir at the tenor. She was singing in the choir at the alto. I was in that corner in the back, she was in that corner in the front. I would move my chair in a way that I could see between choir members her face from the right side. And during the sermon, I could not care less what the pastor said. I was like this. Not moving. Like when you go to the dentist. You know? And once in a while, my friend Pizzi would say, turn your head to the pastor, listen to the sermon. Huh? Okay. And I would close my eyes, look carefully to her eyes, and close my eyes and picture them. Look to her cheek, look to her nose, inch by inch, and close my eyes and try to picture her. So when I go home, I would be able to close my eyes and see her. And I would fall asleep thinking about her and wake up thinking about her, and during the night dream her. I mean that. You think I'm joking, but I'm not. And I would go to school, and it happened that we went to the same school and we lived in the same neighborhood. And I would go to school, and it happened that I would walk to school when she walked to school. Oh, you are going to school right now too? Well, believe it or not, but I've been waiting for half an hour to see when she leaves. When she left, hey, good morning. What time do you start classes? 8 o'clock. Me too. That was a lie. I started at 7:30. I missed the first class, but it was worth. I had class until 2. She had class until 3. I would wait 1 hour, so we would walk together. You finished? Me too. Let's walk home. Eventually, I told her, listen, I like you, I love you, I want to marry you. She said, we don't even know each other well. We didn't even date ever. I said, well, I don't care. And she said, well, what if I don't love you? I said, you are going to grow on it. She said, but what if I don't want? I will pray for it. And she said, listen, I have a choice. I know you do, but I am waiting. Eventually, I had a Giorgio Armani cologne and a nice white handkerchief. I sprayed the handkerchief with Giorgio Armani, and I kept it untouched. And you know, girls once in a while, they get emotional. I was waiting for the moment. When she started to cry, for some reason, her father didn't let her go somewhere with the youth. I was there, gave her the handkerchief. She wiped her eyes and she said, man, this smells really nice. I got a white point. You get enough white points, you win, you know. So, so then I told her, I said, listen, you don't have to hurry. Take your time. But I'm not going to lose my time just to have a girlfriend, to have somebody to separate from. I am friends with you with the purpose to marry you. That's in my mind. It has been forever. And she said, okay. And we talked and talked and talked. And eventually, she started to like me. And then she started to open and tell me her problems. And I said, well, let's pray about it. And she would say, prayer doesn't work. I said, yeah, prayer works, big time. I can tell you stories. Really? So I told her a story. Wow, tell me another one. I told her another one. She said, how many do you have? As long as you can listen. And we talked, and I prayed for her, and I prayed with her, and she started to pray. And her mom in that time was a fervent Catholic and didn't allow her to pray. So she would hide under the blanket early in the morning with the lights off, and she would pray there. And she would tell me how God started to work for her. And eventually we started to date, and we got married 31 years ago. And even now, when I leave home without her, I cannot eat well. I don't know how to dress myself. I will call her, I have this shirt and this tie, but you gave me 4 ties and 4 shirts. Which one goes with which? I'm handicapped without her. I cannot sleep. When I go to sleep, I call her and we talk until we fall asleep. If I don't call her, I cannot sleep. And in the night, if I put my hand and she's not there, I wake up and I'm sad. And just my heart and my stomach doesn't function well unless she is there. So why do I tell you this? Tonight probably I'm going to be a little rough on you. But I don't care because you don't have to like me. I don't have to come back. To think that because we go to church and we have the truth and we are Seventh-day Adventists and we keep the Sabbath and we eat tofu is going to save us, it's a great deception. We got to the point that often we worship our doctrines instead of worshiping our God. We have good doctrines. Yes, we do. But doctrines are not going to save anybody. There will be people who will keep the doctrines faithfully, and Jesus is going to say, I never knew you. Because religion and church is about falling in love with Jesus to the point that you watch him, you see him, you dream of him, you talk about him, you eat with him, you walk with him, and you are handicapped without him. And if you close your eyes, all you see is him. And if we don't get to that point, we lose our time here. All great people in the Bible have reached that point to talk to God face to face, to hear God and to depend on God and give up self entirely. Not just to say, oh, how I love Jesus. That's a bunch of baloney. We say we love Jesus, but we love self. We say we live for Jesus, but we live for self. Because tell me, how much time do you contemplate, behold Jesus? How much time do you spend with Jesus? So I tell you how in love you are with Jesus. We are in love with our doctrines. You hear me? I'm glad you do. I know you do. And I don't care if you like it. As I told you before. I was talking to a girl. Not going to tell you her name. Seventh-day Adventist since she was a baby. She was baptized when she was about 9 years old. Coming to church faithfully. Coming to church faithfully. Keeping Sabbath and eating vegetables. Paying tithe and singing in the choir. And I talked to her and she said, well, prayer doesn't do anything for me. When I struggle, I ask God for help and nothing happens. and it takes months until my problem gets solved, and I don't think it's God. It just happens. I said, I agree with you. If you spend months praying for your trouble, when it gets solved, it's not God. I agree with you. I said, that's wrong what you do. What do you mean? I said, you pray to solve your problems instead of praying to know God. Prayer is not a matter of solving our problems. It's a matter of relationship. There is nothing wrong to present our needs before Jesus. He said, cast all your needs upon me. Didn't he? All your worries. But if that's all what is prayer, then give it up. It's like your kid coming to you and say, give me some money. And if you don't, he will not greet you again. All he wants from you is your money, not your love. Would you enjoy that type of relationship? So I talked to her and I said, listen, you go in the wrong direction. You are not an Adventist. Oh yes, I've been baptized long ago and I know everything about Sabbath and state of the dead and spirit of prophecy. I said, don't tell me what you know. Tell me who you know. Oh, I know God. I said, no, you don't. You know about God. If you knew God, you would not even say that he doesn't answer your prayers because my God cares. You don't know God. Basically, you have nothing to do with God. You are strangers, total strangers. I said, well, everybody struggles. I said, no, you are wrong. Everybody goes through challenges, yes, but not everybody struggles. Did you hear what I said? Because when you have a God, you know that he's in control. And if you don't, then you don't have a God. So I told her, I said, you come to church, but you don't come to church. You are there because it's a duty, and you need to do your duty so you feel good because you live salvation by works. So, a Hindu guy knocked in her door. Hindu. And he says, I found Jesus. And I am trying to knock in every door to give people Bible studies about Jesus. And she says, I am a Seventh-day Adventist. I know all about Jesus. He said, really? Tell me what you know about Jesus. Tell me about your Jesus. I said, well, you got to go to church. You got to keep Sabbath. You see where I'm going? And he says, that's not Jesus. The Jesus that I found is different. You got to spend time with him. You got to love him. And he says, how can you spend time with God? Can you see God? Can you hear him? And he says, yes. And she says, you are not. He says, no, you are not a Christian. Oh yes, I am a Seventh-day Adventist. He said, I don't care what church you belong to. You are not a Christian. And he says, study with me. Oh, what do you want to teach me? About Jesus. So they started to study together. 4 weeks later, she brought her uncle, and then another person, and then another. And then soon enough, there were about 13 people studying together in her little apartment. The Hindu guy was not teaching them doctrines. Don't get me wrong, doctrines are not bad. Doctrines are good. But without Jesus, they do nothing. So, the Hindu guy was teaching them how to know Jesus. And he said, you told me that you do evangelism, guys? That's wrong. He said, well, Jesus told us to preach the gospel. And he said, okay, what is the gospel? It's the good news. And what is the good news? The doctrines? I said, well, I don't know. He said, the good news is salvation through Jesus. Go and do that type of evangelism. Because if people know Jesus, they are going to die for Jesus, not just keep Sabbath. Do anything for Jesus. But he said, do your church people do anything for Jesus? I said, yes, they do. And he said, call them to a work bee, see how many come. And then you know if they do everything for Jesus. Hello, you heard what I said? I know you did. And after a few studies, she came to the pastor and she said, I want to be rebaptized. I finally got Jesus. And the pastor said to her, you have been baptized long ago. She said, no, It was just getting in the water and getting out. Now I got Jesus. I'll continue that story a little later. I'm going to give you tonight the basics of religion. And if we don't have that, we have nothing. Because you know what? Many come to church. Many get baptized. But in my Bible, when Jesus comes, from the 10 virgins, 5 would be out and 5 in. So basically, from those who come to church, some will be out. It's not about you guys. You are all okay. You are all good. Some others